Hey everybody, Rob DeLessio, Taste of Retirement. Well, guess what? The weather's getting warmer. It's time for a picnic. What are we gonna do? We're gonna kick it up, Taste of Retirement style. Come on, let me show you how we do it. All right, so the weather's getting warmer, which means it's almost picnic time, right? So what do you do at picnics? You have some sandwiches, some other traditional favorites like pasta salad, maybe some deviled eggs, different things like that. Now, one of the things that's a staple when it comes to summertime foods and those salads and deviled eggs and all that is mayonnaise. And there's nothing easier than making homemade mayonnaise. And so what we're gonna do, we've got some chopped garlic, lemons for lemon juice, whole eggs, some grapeseed oil, some Dijon mustard, and some kosher salt. That's it on how you make mayonnaise. One of the things some people call just to use yolks in the mayo, and I like to use the whole egg. It's got a little bit more viscosity to it, so when you do the emulsion, it'll actually help it to bind together and so it doesn't break on you. So I've got 5 eggs here. I've already chopped the garlic. Just gonna crack the egg, obviously. So we've got the eggs in there. We're gonna do the lemon juice. We need a couple tablespoons of lemon juice. Make sure to not let the seeds in there because seeds are no good. We've got the lemon juice in there. We've got the eggs, we've got the garlic. We need a couple tablespoons of Dijon mustard. I'm a big Grey Poupon fan. Maybe it was from the commercials when I was a kid, you know, where the guy looks out the window and said, you know, do you have any Grey Poupon? And then you're just gonna season with some salt. Now remember, you don't want to go too salty because you can't take it back out. So then we're going to do an emulsion. An emulsion, we've got a blender here, and it's just mixing the solids and the oil. And what you do is you want to use a very mild flavored or almost hardly any flavored oil. I like to use grapeseed. Grapeseed's very versatile in a kitchen because it has a really high smoke point. Some people will use some olive oil, and you can, but it's got a strong flavor to it. So if you put too much olive oil in it, it's gonna overpower it. You can maybe do a mixture between maybe half grapeseed, half olive oil. Of course, you can use canola oil or vegetable oil or something like that. I just prefer to use grapeseed. So the key to this though is when you're pouring it in, you wanna pour very, very slowly. If you just pour 2 cups in there, it's never gonna bind together. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the immersion blender, this is what they call this, or in the restaurant business, we always call it a burr mixer. But we're gonna get it going, and then as things start to mix together, I'm gonna slowly incorporate the oil until it just becomes one bowl of happiness. We went ahead and did the emulsion, and we're done with the burr mixer, and it depends on really what kind of viscosity you want in it. I like almost a little bit runnier mayonnaise. I think it's gonna be more versatile when we're mixing it up in the pasta salad or in the deviled eggs that we're gonna do. Obviously, if you want it thicker, you can do a little bit more oil, continue to blend it, and that'll just thicken it up. Again, remember, if it breaks, do another egg or maybe do a little bit of mustard, but then we'll go from there. And honestly, you have homemade mayonnaise here. You can put it in an airtight container, store it up to a couple weeks, and it's just absolutely fantastic. Pasta salad. This is a summertime favorite. But the cool thing is, there's no right or wrong way to make pasta salad. Some people make them vinegar-based. Some people have it mayonnaise-based. You can have it store-bought, or you can make it yourself, just like we're doing it here. And in typical Taste of Retirement fashion, we're gonna kick it up a notch. I've got some nice, high-quality, dry orecchiette pasta. And in the bowl here is a bunch of dry ingredients. I've got some chopped dill, I've got some parsley, I've got some green onions, I've got some celery, some shredded carrots, and then here's the secret, the peppadew peppers. And peppadew peppers have a really nice, sweet, tangy taste to it with a little bit of back heat. So I've got all of those, and then I've got a little bit of sour cream, Dijon mustard, garlic powder, and then one of our favorites, a homemade mayonnaise. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and take my mixing bowl. I'm gonna add all of the dry ingredients, put those in, and then we're gonna add the wet ingredients. Trusty spatula here. The mayonnaise should just pour right in. And the cool thing when you're making your own homemade mayonnaise is you can change the flavor profile on it however you want. So I mean, if you want it really spicy, you can make it really spicy. If you want it garlicky, like I do, you can make it garlicky. It's really whatever you want it to be. Then we're gonna season it. We're gonna do salt. We already did the garlic powder, and then we're gonna do some cracked black pepper. And what you could also do if you wanted to, After you taste it, when you mix the pasta in there, you could add a little bit of hot sauce if you want to. So the possibilities are endless. That's really why I don't ever buy a store-bought pasta salad. One, you're paying crazy prices like $9, $10, $11, $12 a pound, and you can make it yourself for way less, and it's gonna have more fresh taste, and it's super, super simple. So we're gonna do the cracked black pepper. And I like to use freshly cracked black pepper. It just adds more flavor to it. And who's ever got a problem with flavor, right? Okay, and then you got all those ingredients in there. I just mix it up because I want all those flavors to meld. And then it'll just wait for the pasta to come in. All right, so the pasta's done. I gave it an ice bath, so it's nice and cool now. So you stop the cooking process of the pasta, and now it's cool enough so that we can mix the wet and the dry ingredients. So I just take the bowl of the wet, mix that in, and then you just want to keep mixing. Don't be too rough though, because you don't want to break the pasta up, but you just want to make sure you incorporate all of that flavor into each, all around each noodle. Just keep turning it over, keep turning it over. And I'll be honest, you can serve it immediately if you want, but I like to let it sit for a couple hours, even maybe overnight, and then all that flavor will really meld together in that pasta. Okay, deviled eggs. Some people love them, some people hate them, but they've been around a long time. Deviled eggs are awesome. But the first thing you have to do is you have to hard boil your eggs. I take my slotted spoon, come up, and I just place them right in that ice bath. And I want to make sure that they're absolutely as cold as they can get before we start breaking into them. Really, it's mainly so that way when I start to mix with the yolks and start to make the filling for our deviled eggs, that it'll be pliable. So what we do is we cut it in half lengthwise. And you see here the yolk is cooked perfectly. I like to use a serrated blade when I cut them in half because that way I don't crack it or smash it. But I want to go nice and smooth, not too abrupt, and just let the knife do the work as I cut through. So just nice and slowly, cut through lengthwise, and then when you cut it back, you'll see the yolk is cooked absolutely perfectly. Now, if done correctly, you just kind of push on the sides and that yolk pops right out. Okay, so when we're making the yolk batter, we've got some homemade mayonnaise, but remember, less is more. I don't want to have to cook more eggs just to get the yolks. So just go slowly and put a little bit in there. We don't want it runny, okay? And then we've got a little bit of Tabasco, a couple sprinkles. I love Tabasco. I think Tabasco is really, really good, but it has certain places that it's good for and certain places that it's not. We're gonna use some smoked paprika. I love paprika. It's got a little bit of that back heat, but the smoked flavor adds some richness to it. And then you're gonna save some of that, honestly, for garnish too. Then we've got Dijon mustard. I love Dijon mustard, man. It's so good. Nice pungent taste to it, but it's just great with eggs. Salt and pepper. So just a little black pepper. And if you don't like the way the black pepper looks, you could actually even use white pepper. You won't see it as well, but I kind of like the way that looks. And then what you're gonna just do is just mash it up. Okay, so we've got the deviled eggs, we've got them filled, and at this point, you could do it traditional style and just top it with some paprika, and they'd be ready to go. If you're doing a bunch of them for a massive Easter party or 4th of July or something like that, then maybe that's what you want to do. But here at Taste of Retirement, we always kick it up a notch, so that's exactly what we're going to do. So what I want to do, and again, you can mix this up in your mix if you're going to do them all the same. I think a variety is really cool, so it's kind of like, like an appetizer tray. And so don't be stingy, just, get some on there, place it right in there. The yolk, it's so firm that it'll actually adhere to it. So then we'll take a little bit of the gravlax or the smoked salmon and do that. And then you could spoon that on, I guess, if you wanted to, but I do things the hard way. A little bit of jalapeno relish on top. We'll do the smoked paprika on the crab and on the jalapeno. And then what I'm going to do here is a couple capers. And some dill on that middle one. Okay, welcome back. This is it, right? This is the picnic episode. So you got a nice deli sandwich, you've got deviled eggs, you've got pasta salad. We used homemade mayonnaise, but the key ingredient, or the star of the show, if you would, is a muffuletta sandwich. And real quick, I'm saying muffuletta sandwich because muffuletta sandwiches are made with a bunch of nice Italian meats, but with olives. And honestly, I don't like olives. I might be one of the few Italians in the world that doesn't like them, but since I'm the one making the food, I get to twist it up, just like we always do at Taste of Retirement. So what we're doing today is we're gonna use, instead of olives, a really spicy jardiniere. This is really famous from Chicago, from New York. They go on hot Italian beef sandwiches, but they're also going on our version of the muffuletta sandwich. So what you've got mortadella, you've got capicola, you've got sopressata, and then you've got a nice hard salami, some aged provolone. We've got a nice ciabatta bread that I've sliced pretty thick. I've got a cast iron skillet going, and so what we're gonna do is we're gonna toast it, if you would, or make kind of like a really fancy Italian grilled cheese. So I slice the bread, I'm gonna move that piece out of the way, and what we're gonna do is on one side, we're gonna take that homemade mayonnaise, and we're gonna coat that nicely on that side. I'm gonna generously cover with the jardiniere. And what I love about jardiniere is just that it's got so much flavor, some nice heat, and it doesn't have any olives in it. So then we take the provolone and we'll go really nice on this, because provolone, the reason why I like to use provolone is it's a great melting cheese. Doesn't have a ton of strong flavor to it, has a good flavor. You can get a smoked provolone if you want more flavor, but it melts really nicely. So then we're gonna take the capicola, right? So that's a pretty spicy, it falls in the salami family. So does the sopressata, falls in the salami family. Then you have the hard salami. Then you've got the mortadella, which is nice, has all kinds of crazy ingredients in it. Just absolutely beautiful. So what we're gonna do now, just a couple dashes, just Italian style. You got a little bit of the red wine vinegar, grab some oregano, and I love to use oregano on an Italian sandwich. It's really aromatic, it just adds great flavor to it. So sprinkle some oregano on the top there, and then we're gonna do, of course, some cracked black pepper, a little bit of salt, and then we're gonna make the magic happen. Who doesn't just like a little bit of salt? So I've got some butter. I always use an unsalted butter, and I normally don't cook a lot in a pan with butter, but for a sandwich like this, it's great. But I always use the unsalted butter. And the reason why is because you get to control the salt content. We just salted the sandwich. So we're gonna put that in. I'm actually gonna go cheese side down. I wanna get that cheese melting as quickly as possible. And then what I like to use is some kind of pot or something like that. It just adds a little bit of extra weight on the top. And then we'll give it a couple minutes, it'll melt down, we'll add more butter to the pan, we'll turn it over, and then we'll watch the magic. All right, so we browned one side, we've gone ahead and browned the other side, and what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take it out, we're gonna let it rest just for a second. All that cheese is nice and melty. I'm gonna flip it over because I like the cheese, for whatever reason, I like the cheese on top of the sandwich. So you let that sit there just for a minute, turn the stove off because you don't wanna get the smoke. And then I always like to cut things on the bias. And on the bias means it's just cut kind of at an angle. So again, take a serrated knife instead of a smooth edge. It'll just go through the bread a little bit better. Go back and forth. Man, you can smell that butter smells delicious. It's got a really nice nutty smell to it. And then you've got all those layers of flavor in there. You've got the garlicky mayo, you've got the melted provolone, you've got the capicola, the sopressata, the mortadella, the salami, the jardiniere. It is just an unbelievable sandwich. And that is a Taste of Retirement muffuletta. There you have it, a picnic, twisted up, Taste of Retirement style. Muffuletta sandwich, deviled eggs, homemade pasta salad. It's absolutely fantastic. Now, if you like what you saw today, go ahead and click on the link, like and subscribe. You'll see amazing content just like this one. I'm Rob D'Alessio, and this was a Taste of Retirement.